The digital display on Sarah Mitchell's kitchen window flashed a warning red as temperatures plummeted to an unprecedented 35 degrees Celsius in the secluded mountains of Montana. In her 15 years as a wildlife veterinarian living on the outskirts of Glacier National Park, she had never encountered anything that would prepare her for what this night would bring. What began as a simple knock at her door would challenge everything she knew about the boundaries between humans and wild animals. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Living alone in her modernized cabin nestled against the rugged terrain of the Continental Divide, Sarah had grown accustomed to the solitude that came with her chosen lifestyle. At 38, she had built a reputation as one of the region's most respected wildlife experts, dedicating her life to studying and treating injured animals in their natural habitat. Her home, perched on the edge of a vast wilderness, served as both her sanctuary and her research station. The evening had started routinely enough. Sarah was reviewing her latest research on local wolf pack behaviors, her laptop illuminating the warm interior of her living room while a fierce February wind howled outside. The study, funded by the National Wildlife Federation, was her attempt to understand the impact of changing weather patterns on predator behaviors in the northern Rockies. Her cabin walls were adorned with detailed maps of animal migration patterns and professional photographs she'd taken during her field research. A crackling fire in her efficient Norwegian wood stove kept the bitter cold at bay, while her Australian cattle dog, Max, dozed peacefully at her feet. The faithful companion had been with her through countless wilderness adventures, his keen instincts proving invaluable during their wildlife encounters. Tonight, however, even Max seemed unusually alert, his ears perking up at every gust of wind that rattled the reinforced windows. Sarah's cabin, though remote, was a testament to careful planning and modern innovation. Solar panels, supplemented by a wind turbine, provided reliable power, while satellite internet kept her connected to the scientific community. The nearest town, Whitefish, lay a treacherous 2-hour drive down mountain roads that became nearly impassable during winter storms. Such isolation required meticulous preparation and respect for the elements. The weather alert on her phone had been pinging consistently throughout the day, warning of an approaching Arctic front that threatened to bring record-breaking low temperatures to the region. Sarah had spent the morning securing her equipment, checking her emergency generators, and ensuring her medical supplies were readily accessible. Years of experience had taught her that preparation could mean the difference between life and death in these mountains. As night fell, the storm intensified. The wind chill dropped the effective temperature to 50 degrees, and the meteorological station outside her cabin recorded gusts exceeding 70 mph. Sarah added another log to the fire and checked her emergency radio, listening to reports of road closures and stranded vehicles throughout the region. In such conditions, she knew she was entirely on her own. The isolation had never bothered her before. In fact, she had chosen this life specifically for the opportunity to study wildlife in their natural habitat, undisturbed by human interference. Her research had contributed to groundbreaking studies on animal behavior and climate adaptation, earning her recognition in the scientific community. But tonight, something felt different. The storm's ferocity seemed to carry an ominous warning. Sarah's satellite phone lay charged on her desk, though she knew that in these conditions even that lifeline could prove useless. Her extensive medical training and wilderness experience had prepared her for most emergencies, but nothing in her background had readied her for what was about to unfold. The night ahead would test not only her professional knowledge, but also her fundamental beliefs about the relationship between humans and wild animals. Max's sudden growl broke through her contemplation. The dog stood rigid, his attention fixed on the cabin's front door. Sarah had learned to trust his instincts implicitly. They had warned her of approaching grizzlies and mountain lions more than once. But this reaction was different. There was no aggression in his stance, just intense focus and what seemed almost like concern. The first knock was so faint that Sarah thought she had imagined it. It sounded less like a deliberate knock and more like something brushing against her door. Max whined softly, moving closer to the entrance. The second knock was unmistakable, a distinct thudding that resonated through the cabin's sturdy frame. Sarah's heart began to race. In 15 years of living in the wilderness, she had never heard anything like it. Through her window's security camera feed, Sarah could see the storm raging outside, snow swirling in violent eddies illuminated by her porch lights. The temperature reading on her weather station had stopped working, the liquid in the thermometer frozen solid. The wind howled with renewed fury, but beneath it, she heard something else, a sound that made her blood run. And cold, the unmistakable whimper of a bear cub. Her security cameras revealed a scene that defied everything she knew about winter wildlife behavior. There, on her front porch, stood a massive female black bear, her paw raised as if to knock again. Behind her, barely visible in the swirling snow, were two small cubs, their dark fur crusted with ice. The mother bear's movements were sluggish, her powerful body showing signs of extreme fatigue. In February, these bears should have been deep in hibernation. Their presence here now spoke of desperate circumstances. Sarah's mind raced through possible explanations. Black bears typically hibernated from late October through March in these mountains. Something catastrophic must have driven them from their den. Perhaps an avalanche or human interference. Whatever the cause, the bears were now in grave danger. The cubs, likely born during hibernation, were far too young to survive these temperatures. The mother bear's eyes, visible through the camera feed, held an intelligence and desperation that struck Sarah to her core. In all her years of studying wildlife, she had never seen such a direct attempt at human contact from a wild animal. The bear's behavior went against every natural instinct, suggesting a level of awareness that challenged conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. As Sarah watched, one of the cubs collapsed into the mounting snowdrift, its small body shivering violently. The mother bear turned to her fallen cub, trying to nudge it back to its feet, but her own movements were becoming increasingly uncoordinated. Time was running out. The bitter cold was overwhelming even the bear's natural defenses, and Sarah knew that without intervention, none of them would survive the night. Her professional training warred with her humanitarian instincts. Every wildlife management protocol warned against interfering with wild animals, especially predators. Bears were particularly dangerous when protecting their young, but as she watched the family struggling against the lethal cold, Sarah realized that sometimes extraordinary circumstances required extraordinary measures. What was unfolding on her porch was more than a wildlife emergency. It was a test of human compassion in the face of nature's harshest challenges. Sarah's background in wildlife veterinary medicine had equipped her with extensive knowledge of bear behavior and physiology. Standing at her cabin's bay window, she mentally catalogued everything she knew about black bears, their incredible strength, their protective instincts, and most importantly, their normal behavioral patterns. None of what she was witnessing aligned with typical ursine conduct. Her cabin, though designed for wildlife research, had never been intended as an animal sanctuary. The main living space flowed into her medical examination room, where she occasionally treated smaller wildlife specimens. A separate storage area, originally built as a climate-controlled facility for her research materials, could potentially serve as temporary shelter. The space was insulated, secure, and most importantly, separate from her living quarters. Years of field research had taught Sarah to read subtle signs in animal behavior. The mother bear's body language displayed none of the usual aggression associated with their species. Instead, her movements spoke of exhaustion and desperation. The cubs, likely only a few weeks old, showed advanced signs of hypothermia. Their small bodies, designed for the warmth of a winter den, were failing rapidly in the brutal cold. Sarah's mind raced through her years of experience. During her residency at the Montana Wildlife Center, she had treated numerous bear cubs, but always under controlled conditions. Her doctoral research had focused on winter survival strategies among large predators, and she had published several papers on bear hibernation patterns. That knowledge now seemed simultaneously crucial and inadequate for the situation at hand. The wind howled with renewed intensity, rattling her cabin's reinforced windows. Through the security feed, Sarah watched as the mother bear tried to shield her cubs from the biting cold. Her massive body curved protectively around them. The gesture was heartbreakingly maternal, transcending species boundaries. Max, usually wary of large predators, whined softly beside her, his reaction suggesting he sensed something extraordinary in the situation. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Sarah's satellite phone showed no signal, the storm interfering with reception. Her emergency radio crackled with updates about the Arctic front. Conditions were expected to worsen over the next 12 hours. The bears' chances of survival, already slim, would be non-existent if they remained exposed to these elements. Even their thick winter coats and natural fat reserves couldn't protect them against such extreme cold. Her research laboratory, adjacent to the main cabin, contained various wildlife monitoring equipment. Through her thermal imaging camera, Sarah could see the bears' body temperatures dropping dangerously low. The cubs, in particular, were losing heat rapidly, their small bodies ill-equipped for such extreme conditions. The mother bear's temperature, while more stable, was also falling to concerning levels. Sarah's reputation in the scientific community had been built on careful observation and non-interference with wildlife. Her photographs and research papers documented animal behavior without influencing it. This situation, however, challenged everything she had advocated in her professional life. The bears weren't just subjects for study anymore. They were living creatures in desperate need of help. The storage facility could work as an emergency shelter. Its separate entrance and reinforced walls made it relatively secure. The space was heated through the cabin's geothermal system, maintaining a constant temperature that would help the bears recover from hypothermia. but getting 3 bears into it safely seemed like an impossible task. Sarah's medical training kicked in as she assessed the risks. Black bears, even in weakened states, possessed incredible strength. The mother bear, despite her apparent desperation, could easily kill Sarah if she perceived any threat to her cubs. The standard wildlife safety protocols were clear. Maintain distance, avoid interaction, and never interfere with a mother and her young. But these weren't standard circumstances. Through her years of research, Sarah had documented countless examples of extraordinary animal behavior. She had observed wolves adopting orphan pups, eagles sharing hunting territories during harsh winters, and bears displaying remarkable problem-solving abilities. Nature, she had learned, didn't always follow textbook rules. The security camera showed the cubs' condition deteriorating rapidly. Their movements, already sluggish, were becoming dangerously slow. The mother bear's attempts to rouse them grew weaker, her own strength failing in the lethal cold. Sarah recognized the signs of severe hypothermia. Without immediate intervention, the family would freeze to death on her porch. Her medical supplies included treatments for hypothermia and equipment for monitoring vital signs. The storage room contained emergency heating pads and insulated blankets, part of her wildlife rescue kit. But using them would mean crossing a line that wildlife professionals were trained never to cross, directly intervening in the life of a wild predator. Sarah thought about her mentor, Dr. Eleanor Wright, who had pioneered new approaches to wildlife conservation. Sometimes, Eleanor had told her, our responsibility to preserve life transcends our scientific protocols. Those words had shaped Sarah's approach to wildlife medicine, encouraging her to think beyond conventional boundaries. The mother bear's eyes met Sarah's through the window, and in that moment, something profound passed between them. It wasn't just desperation she saw in those eyes, but intelligence and trust, a conscious choice to seek help from a human. The bear's decision to approach her cabin, to knock on her door, suggested a level of cognitive sophistication that challenged traditional understanding of wildlife behavior. Sarah began gathering supplies, medical equipment, heating pads, and emergency blankets. Her hands moved with professional efficiency, muscle memory from years of treating injured wildlife taking over. She knew the risks she was about to take could end her career or her life, but something deeper than professional obligation was driving her now. Max watched her preparations, his usual protective instincts seemingly tempered by understanding. In their years together, he had helped her track injured animals and guard against predators. Now he stood calmly by her side, his behavior suggesting he sensed the gravity of the situation and the importance of what she was about to do. The storage room's separate entrance faced away from the prevailing wind, offering some shelter from the storm. Sarah activated its heating system to maximum capacity, creating a warm space that could help reverse the bear's hypothermia. The room's dimensions, while not spacious, could accommodate the bear family temporarily. Through her years of studying wildlife, Sarah had learned that animals often displayed abilities and behaviors that defied scientific explanation. She had documented cases of interspecies cooperation, complex problem-solving, and remarkable adaptability. This situation, while extreme, seemed to represent another example of wildlife transcending their supposed limitations. The wind's intensity increased, driving the wind chill factor even lower. The cubs had stopped moving entirely, their small bodies buried in growing snowdrifts. The mother bear's breathing had become shallow, her massive form shuddering with each gust of wind. The next few minutes would determine whether Sarah's decision would prove to be an act of mercy or a fatal mistake. As she prepared to open her door, Sarah thought about the countless hours she'd spent observing bears in their natural habitat. She had witnessed their strength, their intelligence, and their fierce devotion to their young. But she had never seen anything like this. A wild bear literally knocking on a human's door, seeking help with what seemed like conscious intent. The emergency radio crackled with another update. Conditions were deteriorating across the region. Search and rescue operations had been suspended until the storm passed. Sarah knew that whatever happened next, she would face it alone. Her decision would either validate her belief in the possibility of human-wildlife cooperation or become a cautionary tale about the dangers of anthropomorphizing wild animals. Sarah knew her next actions would create a pivotal moment in the delicate balance of human-wildlife interaction. She had spent years documenting the intricate relationships between predator species and their environment, but tonight she would become more than just an observer. She would become an active participant in nature's story. Before approaching the door, Sarah activated her cabin's advanced security protocols. Years of living in bear country had taught her to prepare for every contingency. Motion sensors strategically placed around her property tracked the bear's increasingly sluggish movements, while infrared cameras monitored their declining body temperatures. Her research into bear psychology flooded her mind as she made final preparations. Black bears, unlike their grisly cousins, typically showed more adaptability in human-adjacent territories. This particular bear's behavior suggested an extraordinary level of desperation mixed with remarkable intelligence. The deliberate knocking, the direct eye contact, the absence of aggressive displays, all pointed to conscious decision-making that went beyond mere instinct. Max positioned himself near the medical supply cabinet, his usual alertness tempered by an unusual calm. Through their years together, he had developed an almost supernatural ability to read animal behavior. His relaxed posture now, despite the presence of large predators just outside, seemed to validate Sarah's assessment of the situation. The thermal imaging display showed the cubs' core temperatures dropping to dangerous levels. Their small bodies, designed for the warmth of a winter den, were failing rapidly in the unprecedented cold. The mother bear's temperature, while more stable, was also approaching critical levels. Time was running out. Sarah's medical training kicked in as she prepared her emergency protocols. Her examination room, though designed for smaller wildlife, contained equipment that could help treat hypothermia in larger animals. She quickly activated heating panels in the storage area, creating a warm zone that could help stabilize the bear's body temperatures. The wind outside reached a fevered pitch, driving snow horizontally past her windows with frightening force. The mother bear struggled to maintain her protective stance over the cubs, her massive body trembling with exhaustion. One of the cubs lay completely still now, while the other managed only the weakest of movements. Drawing from her years of wildlife observation, Sarah began implementing a carefully considered plan. She knew that sudden movements or loud noises could trigger the mother bear's defensive instincts despite her weakened state. Her approach would need to be methodical, non-threatening, and carefully timed. The storage room's separate entrance provided a strategic advantage. Its heavy-duty door, installed for securing research equipment, could withstand significant force if necessary. The space itself, while not ideal for housing wildlife, offered controlled temperature and limited access points, crucial factors in managing this unprecedented situation. Sarah's satellite phone remained silent, the storm interrupting all communication with the outside world. Her isolation, usually a choice that facilitated her research, now felt more absolute than ever. Whatever happened in the next few minutes would depend entirely on her judgment, skill, and the desperate trust of a mother bear. Years of studying animal behavior had taught Sarah to recognize signs of intelligence and emotional complexity in wildlife. She had documented numerous instances of bears displaying problem-solving abilities and social awareness that challenged conventional understanding. Tonight's events seemed to represent an evolutionary leap in ursine behavior, a conscious decision to seek human assistance. The mother bear's eyes remained fixed on Sarah through the window, displaying an awareness that transcended typical wildlife encounters. In those dark eyes, Sarah saw not just desperation, but a profound understanding of the situation. It was as if the bear comprehended that human intervention represented her cub's only chance for survival. Sarah began her final preparations, her movements deliberate and focused. She laid out thick emergency blankets near the storage room entrance, creating a path of warmth that could guide the bears to safety. The room's heating system hummed steadily, raising the temperature to a level that could help combat their hypothermia. Her years of research into wildlife behavior had often focused on the extraordinary capabilities of animals to adapt and survive. She had documented cases of bears changing their hunting patterns in response to climate change, developing new social behaviors in challenging environments, and displaying remarkable resilience in the face of habitat disruption. The cubs' condition had deteriorated to a critical point. Their small bodies, barely visible beneath the accumulating snow, showed no signs of movement. The mother bear's attempts to rouse them grew increasingly frantic, her own strength visibly failing as she fought against the brutal cold. Sarah's medical expertise told her that the next few minutes would be crucial. Severe hypothermia could cause organ failure and death if not treated promptly. The cubs, with their smaller body mass, were at greatest risk. Even if she succeeded in getting them inside, their survival would depend on how quickly she could raise their core temperatures. The security feeds showed the storm intensifying, with wind speeds approaching hurricane force. The temperature reading outside had failed completely, the digital display frozen at an impossibly low number. The bear's chances of survival without intervention had dropped to zero. Her hands steady, despite the adrenaline coursing through her system, Sarah began the final stage of her preparation. She donned her insulated Arctic gear, designed for extreme conditions. The outfit would provide some protection against both the cold and, if necessary, bear claws, though she hoped it wouldn't come to that. Max watched her preparations with intense focus, his usual protective instincts seemingly replaced by a deeper understanding of the situation. His behavior around injured wildlife had always amazed Sarah. He seemed to instinctively know when to guard and when to stand down. The mother bear's last reserves of strength appeared to be failing. Her massive body swayed dangerously, the effort of standing becoming too much to bear. The cubs lay motionless now, their small forms almost completely buried in the deepening snow. Sarah's research had often focused on the extraordinary abilities of wildlife to adapt to changing conditions. She had documented countless examples of animals displaying intelligence and adaptability that defied conventional wisdom. But what she was witnessing now, a wild bear actively seeking human help, represented something entirely new in the field of wildlife behavior. The wind howled with renewed fury, rattling the cabin's reinforced windows. Through the security camera, Sarah watched as the mother bear made one final attempt to protect her cubs. Her body curved around them in a desperate effort to shield them from the lethal cold. The time for observation and analysis had passed. Sarah knew that every second of delay now decreased the chances of survival for all three bears. Her next actions would either validate her understanding of wildlife behavior or become a tragic lesson in the dangers of anthropomorphizing wild animals. With steady hands, she activated the storage room's external lights, casting a warm glow into the swirling snow. The illumination revealed the full gravity of the situation. The bears were barely visible now, their dark forms almost completely covered by the mounting drifts. Years of scientific training had taught Sarah to maintain professional distance from her subjects, to observe without interfering. But her experiences had also shown her that sometimes the greatest scientific discoveries came from challenging accepted protocols, from daring to question established boundaries between humans and wildlife. The mother bear's eyes met Sarah's one final time through the window, and in that moment, something profound passed between them. It wasn't just desperation she saw in those eyes, but a conscious choice, a decision to trust a human with the lives of her cubs. Sarah reached for her door handle, knowing that her next actions would either represent a breakthrough in human-wildlife interaction or serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating wild animals. The storm raged outside, but inside her mind, a calm certainty had taken hold. Her training, experience, and instincts had led her to this moment. Whatever happened next would challenge everything she thought she knew about wildlife behavior and push the boundaries of human-animal interaction to their limits. The time for hesitation had passed. Sarah took a deep breath, her hand steady on the door handle. She was about to attempt something that went against every conventional wildlife management protocol, but sometimes, she realized, extraordinary circumstances required extraordinary measures. With practiced precision honed from years of wildlife encounters, Sarah eased her front door open. The wind immediately rushed in, bringing with it a blast of Arctic air that stung her face despite her protective gear. The security lights illuminated the scene in stark detail, the mother bear's massive form barely standing, her cubs motionless beneath the mounting snow. Her first steps onto the porch were calculated and deliberate. Sarah's movements, refined through countless wildlife interactions, remained slow and non-threatening. The mother bear's eyes tracked her, but the usual aggressive response to human proximity was notably absent. Instead, the bear's gaze held a mix of exhaustion and what Sarah could only describe as desperate hope. The emergency blankets in Sarah's arms were specially designed for extreme conditions, their metallic surfaces reflecting body heat. As she moved closer, she could hear the mother bear's labored breathing, each exhale creating small clouds of vapor in the frigid air. The bear's fur was crusted with ice, her powerful muscles trembling with fatigue. Max remained inside, positioned near the doorway. His usual protective instincts seemed tempered by an understanding of the gravity of the situation. His calm presence provided Sarah with an additional measure of security. She knew he would alert her to any sudden changes in the bear's demeanor. With methodical care, Sarah began spreading the first blanket near the storage room entrance. The material crackled in the wind, causing the mother bear to flinch slightly. Sarah froze, maintaining eye contact while speaking in low, soothing tones. Her voice, though barely audible above the storm, seemed to have a calming effect on the massive creature. The cub's condition was even more critical up close. Their small bodies, designed for the warmth of a winter den, were showing advanced signs of hypothermia. Sarah's medical training told her they had minutes, not hours, to reverse their declining condition. Their fur was completely encased in ice, their breathing shallow and irregular. Using slow, deliberate movements, Sarah spread a second blanket closer to the bears. The mother bear watched intently, but made no aggressive moves. Her behavior defied everything Sarah had learned about bear encounters. Instead of protecting her cubs through aggression, the bear seemed to understand that this human represented their only chance for survival. The wind intensified, driving the wind chill factor to unimaginable levels. Sarah's exposed skin burned despite her Arctic gear, and she knew the bear's natural defenses against the cold were failing. The mother bear's attempts to shield her cubs grew weaker, her own strength depleted by the savage conditions. With infinite patience, Sarah spread the final blanket, creating a path of relative warmth leading to the storage room door. The mother bear's nostrils flared as she caught the scent of the warmed air flowing from the open doorway. Her reaction confirmed Sarah's hypothesis about bears' ability to recognize and respond to potential sanctuary. The next few moments would be crucial. Sarah had created the opportunity for rescue, but the decision to accept human help had to come from the bear herself. Years of research had taught Sarah that forcing wild animals into any situation, no matter how well-intentioned, usually ended in disaster. Standing perfectly still, Sarah maintained eye contact with the mother bear. Her presence, normally a threat to wild animals, seemed to provide a focal point for the exhausted creature. The bear's eyes, though dulled by fatigue, remained fixed on Sarah with an intelligence that challenged conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. The cub's condition spurred the mother bear into action. With trembling muscles, she attempted to nudge one of her offspring. The cub's response was frighteningly weak, its small body barely moving under its mother's gentle prompting. The second cub showed no response at all. Sarah's heart raced as she watched the mother bear make her decision. With agonizing slowness, the massive creature gripped the edge of the nearest blanket in her teeth. The action displayed a level of problem-solving ability that would have fascinated Sarah under normal circumstances. Now, it represented the difference between life and death. The bear's movements, though hampered by exhaustion, showed remarkable purpose. She began carefully dragging her cubs along the path Sarah had created, using the blanket as both insulation and transportation. The display of maternal dedication transcended species boundaries, touching something fundamentally human. In Sarah's heart, each step seemed to cost the mother bear tremendous effort. Her powerful muscles, depleted by the cold and the strain of protecting her cubs, trembled visibly. Yet she pressed on, her determination providing a stunning example of the power of maternal instinct. Sarah maintained her position, offering quiet encouragement as the bear family inched closer to safety. The storage room's warmth created a visible contrast to the howling storm, its promise of sanctuary drawing them forward. The mother bear's progress was painfully slow, but remarkably deliberate. The security lights cast dramatic shadows across the scene, highlighting the bear's massive form as she fought against exhaustion and cold. Her fur, normally sleek and powerful, was matted with ice and snow, yet her movements remained focused, each step bringing her cubs closer to survival. Inside the storage room, emergency heating panels created a warm environment that could help reverse the effects of hypothermia. Sarah had positioned medical supplies within easy reach, preparing for the critical moments after the bears reached shelter. Her expertise in wildlife medicine would be tested like never before. The mother bear paused at the storage room threshold, her natural wariness warring with desperate need. Sarah held her breath, knowing this moment would determine the success or failure of her rescue attempt. The bear's decision would either validate her understanding of wildlife behavior or prove the folly of anthropomorphizing wild animals. With a final surge of strength, the mother bear pulled her cubs across the threshold. The transition from lethal cold to warmth seemed to energize her slightly, though her exhaustion was still evident. Her massive body trembled as she curled protectively around her offspring, their small forms finally sheltered from the brutal storm. Sarah's medical training kicked in immediately. While maintaining a respectful distance, she began assessing the cubs' condition. Their breathing was shallow but present, their small bodies starting to respond to the warmer environment. The mother bear watched but made no aggressive moves, her trust in Sarah's presence seemingly absolute. The storage room's warmth began to thaw the ice encrusting the bear's fur. Small rivulets of water ran across the floor as their natural insulation started functioning again. The mother bear's breathing became more regular, her massive body relaxing slightly as the heat penetrated her frozen muscles. Through the window, Sarah could monitor the bear's vital signs using her thermal imaging equipment. The cub's core. Temperatures were dangerously low, but the combination of their mother's body heat and the room's warmth was beginning to show positive effects. Their small forms stirred slightly, showing the first signs of recovery. The mother bear's behavior continued to amaze Sarah. Despite her exhaustion, she maintained gentle physical contact with her cubs, encouraging them with soft vocalizations that spoke of universal maternal care. Her actions displayed a level of nurturing that transcended species boundaries. The storm outside reached new levels of intensity, but within the storage room, a miracle of survival was unfolding. The cubs' movements became stronger, their small bodies responding to the combination of warmth and their mother's attention. Sarah watched in wonder as life returned to the nearly frozen cubs. Max remained at his post, his calm presence providing silent support. His acceptance of the bear's presence seemed to confirm Sarah's assessment of the situation. In all their years together, she had learned to trust his instincts about wildlife behavior. The mother bear's eyes met Sarah's through the window, and something profound passed between them. In that moment, Sarah understood that she was witnessing more than just a rescue. She was participating in an event that challenged everything science thought it knew about wildlife behavior and human-animal interaction. The security feed showed the storm continuing to rage outside, but within the storage room, an extraordinary tale of survival and trust was writing itself. Sarah had crossed professional boundaries and challenged conventional wisdom, but in doing so, she had preserved something precious, the lives of 3 magnificent creatures and the hope they represented for understanding wildlife in new ways. As the bears began their recovery, Sarah knew that her actions would be scrutinized by the scientific community. She had violated numerous protocols about wildlife interaction, but she had also documented something remarkable: a wild animal's conscious decision to seek human help and the trust that made survival possible. The night was far from over, but Sarah felt a deep sense of purpose in her decision. She had chosen compassion over convention, trust over fear, and in doing so, had perhaps opened a new chapter in the understanding of wildlife behavior. The mother bear's choice to knock on her door had led to an unprecedented example of human-animal cooperation in the face of desperate circumstances. Sarah spent the next several hours meticulously monitoring the bear's recovery through her sophisticated medical equipment. The storage room, now transformed into an impromptu wildlife intensive care unit, maintained a steady warmth that gradually helped raise the animal's core temperatures. Through the observation window, she documented every slight improvement, every small sign of life returning to the nearly frozen family. The mother bear's behavior continued to defy conventional wildlife studies. Despite her exhaustion, she remained attentive to her cubs, gently nudging them periodically and vocalizing in soft tones that spoke of universal maternal care. Her massive form created a protective barrier between her young and the window where Sarah observed, though her posture lacked the aggression typically associated with defensive bear behavior. Sarah's thermal imaging equipment showed encouraging progress. The cubs' body temperatures, dangerously low when they entered, began climbing steadily. Their small forms stirred with increasing frequency, each movement stronger than the last. The mother bear's own readings stabilized, her powerful body finally able to generate and retain heat properly. Using her expertise in wildlife medicine, Sarah began documenting every aspect of the bear's recovery. Her detailed notes would later prove invaluable to the scientific community, providing unprecedented insight into bear physiology and behavior under extreme conditions. The data she collected challenged existing theories about wildlife survival instincts and adaptation. The storage room's environment, originally designed for research materials, proved surprisingly well suited for wildlife rehabilitation. Its separate ventilation system prevented the bear's scent from reaching the main cabin, while the reinforced walls provided both security and insulation. Sarah had unknowingly created the perfect emergency shelter for her unexpected guests. As midnight approached, Sarah noticed the first significant signs of improvement in the cubs. Their movements became more coordinated, their small bodies beginning to respond to their mother's gentle encouragement. The sight of them attempting to nurse, though still weak, brought tears to Sarah's eyes. It was the strongest indication yet that they would survive. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed moments of interaction between mother and cubs that redefined her understanding of animal consciousness. The mother bear's attention to her young displayed not just instinct, but what appeared to be conscious decision-making and emotional awareness. Her occasional glances towards Sarah seemed to convey an understanding of their shared role in her cub's survival. Max maintained his vigilant but calm presence near the observation window, his behavior providing valuable insight into the bear's emotional state. His reactions to wildlife had always been remarkably accurate, and his continued relaxed demeanor suggested the bears posed no immediate threat despite their proximity. Sarah's satellite phone suddenly crackled to life, a brief break in the storm, allowing signal through. She quickly documented her situation, sending critical data to her research supervisor at the Montana Wildlife Center. The response was immediate and supportive, validating her emergency intervention despite its unprecedented nature. The mother bear's recovery progressed steadily through the night. Her movements became more fluid, the dangerous trembling of severe hypothermia replaced by the normal muscle adjustments of an animal at rest. Her attention remained focused on her cubs, but she seemed increasingly aware of her surroundings, taking in the details of their temporary shelter. Using her specialized wildlife monitoring equipment, Sarah recorded the bear's vital signs hourly. The data revealed fascinating patterns of physiological adaptation, showing how quickly their bodies responded to the controlled environment. Their recovery rates provided valuable information about bear resilience and survival capabilities. The storm outside reached its peak intensity around 2 a.m., with wind speeds exceeding 80 km/h. The contrast between the howling chaos outside and the peaceful scene in the storage room struck Sarah as profoundly symbolic. Within these walls, natural barriers between species had temporarily dissolved in the face of survival's necessity. Sarah's years of research into wildlife behavior had often focused on the extraordinary capabilities of animals to adapt and survive. She had documented countless examples of bears displaying intelligence and problem-solving abilities, but nothing in her experience compared to the conscious choice this mother bear had made in seeking human assistance. The cubs' recovery continued to progress remarkably well. Their movements became more coordinated, their responses to their mother more energetic. Sarah observed them attempting to play, their natural cub-like behavior returning as their strength improved. The sight of their recovery filled her with profound joy and professional satisfaction. Through her thermal cameras, Sarah captured incredible moments of interaction between the bear family. The mother's careful attention to her cubs, their responding movements, and the gradual strengthening of their bonds created a compelling documentary of survival and maternal dedication. The footage would later become invaluable for wildlife behavior studies. As the night progressed, Sarah noticed subtle changes in the mother bear's behavior toward her. The massive creature's initial desperate trust evolved into what appeared to be conscious cooperation. She would move aside slightly when Sarah needed a better view for medical observations, her actions suggesting an understanding of their shared purpose in helping her cubs. The storage room's environment continued to provide ideal conditions for recovery. Sarah had equipped it with emergency medical supplies, which now proved invaluable for monitoring the bear's vital signs. The space's design, intended for research materials, inadvertently created a perfect wildlife rehabilitation unit. Sarah's detailed documentation of the night's events would later contribute significantly to the field of wildlife behavior studies. Her observations challenged existing theories about animal consciousness and decision-making, providing evidence of sophisticated problem-solving and emotional awareness in wild bears. The cubs' improvement became more noticeable as dawn approached. Their small bodies, nearly frozen just hours before, now moved with increasing strength and coordination. Sarah observed them successfully nursing, their natural survival instincts fully re-engaging as their conditions stabilized. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed countless small moments that reinforced her belief in the extraordinary capabilities of wildlife to adapt and survive. The mother bear's careful attention to her cubs, her awareness of their surroundings, and her apparent understanding of the situation displayed a level of consciousness that defied conventional wildlife behavior studies. Max's continued calm presence near the observation area provided valuable insight into the bear's emotional state. His behavior, usually a reliable indicator of wildlife intentions, suggested the bears had fully accepted their temporary sanctuary and posed no threat to their human savior. Sarah's professional documentation continued throughout the night, recording every aspect of the bears' recovery. Her notes detailed not just their physical improvement, but also the fascinating behavioral aspects of their adaptation to the temporary shelter. The data would later prove crucial in advancing understanding of wildlife rehabilitation techniques. The mother bear's recovery was particularly remarkable. Despite her massive size and the severity of her condition upon arrival, she displayed extraordinary resilience. Her strength returned steadily, though she remained focused primarily on her cub's well-being rather than her own comfort. As the hours passed, Sarah observed increasing signs of normal bear behavior returning to the family. The cubs, their crisis past, began showing typical signs of curiosity about their environment. Their mother, while still protective, allowed them to explore the confines of their temporary shelter under her watchful eye. The storm outside continued its assault on the landscape, but within the storage room, an extraordinary tale of survival and interspecies cooperation continued to unfold. Sarah's decision to intervene, though contrary to conventional wildlife management protocols, had resulted in an unprecedented opportunity to study bear behavior and resilience. Through her specialized monitoring equipment, Sarah captured valuable data about the bear's physiological recovery. Their vital signs showed remarkable improvement, providing insights into bear biology and survival mechanisms that would prove invaluable to future wildlife research and conservation efforts. As morning approached, the bear's recovery had progressed, far beyond Sarah's initial hopes. The family unit, nearly lost to the brutal storm, had not only survived, but appeared to be regaining their natural strength and vitality. Their remarkable journey from desperate crisis to recovery would later become a cornerstone case study in wildlife rehabilitation. The mother bear's conscious choice to seek human help, followed by her extraordinary trust in Sarah's intervention, challenged everything known about wildlife behavior. Her actions suggested levels of intelligence and decision-making capability that would revolutionize understanding of animal consciousness and survival instincts. Sarah's documentation of the night's events continued with professional precision, though her heart was deeply moved by the unfolding miracle of survival she witnessed. Each moment of recovery, each small sign of returning strength, reinforced her belief in the powerful bonds between all living creatures when faced with nature's greatest challenges. The first rays of dawn brought a gradual quieting of the storm's fury, though the temperature outside remained dangerously low. Sarah's monitoring equipment showed the bear family's vital signs had stabilized remarkably well overnight. The cubs, whose lives had hung by a thread just hours before, now displayed the energetic curiosity typical of their age, their small bodies bouncing back with the resilience of youth. Through her research-grade cameras, Sarah captured extraordinary new footage of the cub's emerging personalities. The larger cub, slightly more adventurous, had begun exploring the corners of their temporary shelter, while its sibling remained closer to their mother, occasionally pawing at her face with newfound strength. Their mother watched their antics with what Sarah could only describe as contentment, her own recovery evident in her more relaxed posture. Sarah's satellite connection had strengthened with the storm's weakening, allowing her to consult with Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a leading expert in bear behavior at the University of Montana. The scientist's initial skepticism about a bear actively seeking human help turned to fascination as Sarah shared her detailed observations and preliminary data from the night's events. The mother bear's behavior continued to challenge conventional wildlife studies. Rather than displaying the typical stress responses of a wild animal in captivity, she appeared to understand the temporary nature of their shelter. Her interactions with her cubs showed normal maternal care, but her occasional glances towards Sarah through the observation window seemed to convey a deeper awareness of their unusual situation. Using her specialized equipment, Sarah conducted non-invasive health assessments of all three bears. The data revealed fascinating patterns in their recovery. Their body temperatures had normalized, their breathing patterns showed healthy rhythms, and their muscle responses indicated successful recovery from the severe hypothermia that had nearly claimed their lives. The storage room's environment, maintained at an optimal temperature for bear recovery, had proven to be an ideal rehabilitation space. Sarah's years of wildlife research had inadvertently prepared her for this exact scenario, though she had never imagined testing her theories under such dramatic circumstances. The room's separate ventilation system and reinforced walls provided both safety and comfort for her unusual guests. Around mid-morning, Sarah witnessed a particularly touching moment between the bear family. The mother bear, now fully recovered from her exhaustion, engaged in gentle play with her cubs, carefully controlling her enormous strength as she responded to their increasingly energetic movements. The scene demonstrated the sophisticated social bonds that existed within bear families, challenging older views of bears as purely instinct-driven creatures. Max's behavior throughout the morning provided valuable insights into the bear's emotional state. His relaxed presence near the observation window, occasionally wagging his tail when the cubs tumbled past, suggested the bears had fully adjusted to their temporary sanctuary. His instincts about wildlife had never failed Sarah, and his continued, calm demeanor reinforced her assessment of the situation. Sarah's detailed documentation expanded to include behavioral observations that would prove invaluable to wildlife research. She noted the mother bear's sophisticated problem-solving abilities, such as her careful rearrangement of the emergency blankets to create more comfortable bedding for her cubs. These actions demonstrated levels of cognitive function that exceeded current understanding of bear intelligence. The morning light revealed subtle changes in the bear's appearance as they recovered. Their fur, initially matted and frozen, had dried into its natural glossy state. The cubs' eyes, dull with hypothermia the night before, now sparkled with life and curiosity. Their mother's powerful form had regained its natural majesty, though she maintained her remarkably calm demeanor. Using her thermal imaging equipment, Sarah captured the bears' improving circulation patterns throughout the morning. The data showed fascinating details about how their bodies had adapted to survive extreme cold and then recover, information that would prove valuable for wildlife conservation efforts in an era of increasing climate extremes. Sarah's professional focus was momentarily interrupted by a particularly heartwarming scene. The larger cub had discovered its reflection in a metal cabinet door and was engaging in playful behavior that demonstrated self-awareness, a cognitive ability rarely documented in wild bears. Its siblings soon joined the game, while their mother watched with what appeared to be patient amusement. The storm outside had weakened significantly, though the temperature remained well below freezing. Sarah's weather monitoring equipment showed conditions were improving, but wouldn't be safe for the bear's release for at least another day. This extended observation period provided an unprecedented opportunity to study bear behavior in a controlled environment. Through her observation window, Sarah noticed interesting patterns in the family's social dynamics. The cubs, though identical in size, displayed distinct personalities in their play and exploration. The mother bear showed remarkable patience and adaptability in responding to each cub's different needs, demonstrating sophisticated parenting behaviors that challenged conventional understanding of wildlife cognitive capabilities. Sarah's documentation expanded to include detailed notes about the bear's vocalizations. She recorded a complex range of sounds between mother and cubs, suggesting a more sophisticated communication system than previously documented in bear research. These observations would later contribute to groundbreaking studies in animal communication. The mother bear's continued calm acceptance of their situation amazed Sarah. Despite having regained her full strength, the massive creature showed no signs of stress or aggression. Instead, she appeared to understand the temporary nature of their shelter, occasionally checking the weather through the small window while keeping her cubs safely inside. Sarah's wildlife monitoring equipment captured fascinating data about the bears' sleep patterns during their recovery. The family had settled into short rest periods between bouts of activity, with the mother bear maintaining a subtle awareness of their surroundings even while appearing to sleep. This behavior provided new insights into bear survival strategies. Around noon, Sarah observed an extraordinary display of intelligence from the mother bear. When one of the cubs became overexcited in its play, potentially risking injury, the mother bear used a series of gentle movements and soft vocalizations to redirect its energy. The level of nuanced parenting demonstrated sophisticated emotional intelligence rarely documented in wildlife studies. The bear's adaptation to their temporary shelter continued to provide valuable research opportunities. Sarah noted how the family had established distinct areas for different activities within the space: rest, play, and hygiene, showing complex spatial awareness and social organization that exceeded current understanding of bear behavior. Throughout the day, Sarah continued her non-invasive monitoring while maintaining professional distance. Her presence through the observation window had become a normal part of the bear's temporary environment, allowing her to document natural behaviors without influencing them. The trust established between human observer and wild subjects created unique opportunities for scientific discovery. The cubs' recovery had progressed remarkably well, their play becoming more coordinated and energetic as the day advanced. Sarah observed them practicing important survival skills through their games, demonstrating how young bears developed crucial abilities through social interaction. Their mother's patient guidance provided insights into the sophisticated teaching methods employed by wild animals. Sarah's detailed records of the bear's rehabilitation would later contribute to improving wildlife rescue protocols worldwide. Her observations challenged existing assumptions about human-wildlife interaction and provided valuable data about bear physiology, behavior, and intelligence. The unique circumstances of their shelter-seeking had created an unprecedented opportunity for scientific study. As the day progressed, Sarah witnessed countless small moments that reinforced her understanding of bears as intelligent, emotionally complex creatures. The mother bear's careful attention to her cubs, her apparent comprehension of their situation, and her sophisticated problem-solving abilities demonstrated levels of consciousness that would reshape wildlife behavior studies. The bear's story would later become a testament to the extraordinary capabilities of wildlife to adapt and survive, while also highlighting the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction when approached with knowledge, respect, and compassion. Sarah's decision to help them had not only saved their lives, but had opened new avenues for understanding the complex relationships between humans and wild animals. As afternoon transitioned into evening, Sarah's attention turned to preparing for the bear's eventual return to the wild. Her weather monitoring equipment showed promising signs. The brutal storm system was moving out, and temperatures were gradually rising to more manageable levels. Through her observation window, she noticed the mother bear's increasing attention to the outdoor conditions, suggesting an innate awareness of the approaching time for departure. Sarah began documenting the final stages of their remarkable recovery. The cubs, whose near-lifeless bodies had been rescued from the killing cold just a day earlier, now displayed boundless energy. Their play incorporated complex movements and social interactions that provided fascinating insights into young bear development. The larger cub had developed a habit of standing on its hind legs to peek out the window, while its sibling invented games involving the emergency blankets. The mother bear's behavior continued to amaze Sarah with its sophistication. When the cub's play became too rowdy, she would redirect them with gentle nudges and soft vocalizations, demonstrating parenting skills that rivaled human techniques in their nuance and effectiveness. Her careful balance of discipline and affection challenged traditional views of wildlife behavior as purely instinctual. Using her advanced monitoring equipment, Sarah conducted final health assessments of the bear family. The data painted an encouraging picture. All three bears showed normal vital signs, strong muscle responses, and healthy circulation patterns. Their recovery rates provided valuable information about bear resilience and adaptation capabilities that would prove crucial for future wildlife conservation efforts. Sarah's satellite connection allowed her to share her observations with a wider scientific community. Dr. Elena Rodriguez coordinated a virtual conference with wildlife experts from around the world, all eager to learn from this unprecedented event. Sarah's detailed documentation of the bear's behavior, particularly the mother bear's conscious decision to seek human help, sparked intense discussion about animal intelligence and decision-making capabilities. Through her high-resolution cameras, Sarah captured remarkable footage of the bear's social interactions. The cubs had developed distinct personalities during their stay. One showed natural leadership in their games, while the other displayed greater creativity in problem-solving. Their mother adapted her responses to each cub's individual needs, demonstrating sophisticated emotional intelligence. Max's behavior continued to provide valuable insights into the bear's psychological state. His relaxed demeanor near the observation window had evolved into genuine interest in their activities. Sarah observed him watching the cubs' play sessions with apparent enjoyment, his tail wagging whenever they performed particularly acrobatic moves. As evening approached, Sarah noticed subtle changes in the mother bear's behavior. While maintaining her calm demeanor, she began showing more interest in the outside world. Her periodic checks of the window became more frequent, and her posture suggested increasing readiness for departure. These changes confirmed Sarah's assessment that the bear's natural instincts were reasserting themselves as their crisis passed. The storage room, which had served as an emergency shelter, showed signs of its unusual occupants. The bears had arranged the emergency blankets into a comfortable nest, demonstrating their ability to adapt human materials to their needs. Their careful use of the space, maintaining separate areas for different activities, revealed sophisticated spatial awareness. Sarah's documentation expanded to include detailed analyses of the bear's vocalizations. She had recorded an extensive range of sounds used between mother and cubs, suggesting a complex communication system that exceeded current understanding of bear language. These recordings would later contribute to groundbreaking research in animal communication. The cubs' recovery had progressed far beyond Sarah's initial hopes. Their movements showed perfect coordination. Their play incorporated complex social rules, and their interactions with their mother displayed strong emotional bonds. Their experience, though born of crisis, had provided unprecedented opportunities to study young bear development. As the sun began to set, Sarah observed an extraordinary sequence of behavior. The mother bear gathered her cubs for their evening nursing session, but this time her actions suggested preparation for departure. She seemed to understand that their time in the shelter was drawing to a close, and her behavior focused on preparing her cubs for the transition. Sarah's thermal imaging equipment revealed fascinating patterns in the bear's physical responses to their environment. Their bodies had fully recovered from the hypothermia, showing strong heat signatures that indicated robust health. The data provided valuable insights into bear physiology and adaptation capabilities. The mother bear's intelligence continued to impress Sarah. When one of the cubs showed reluctance to end their play session, she demonstrated remarkable patience in coaxing it to rest, using a combination of gentle physical guidance and soft vocalizations that spoke of sophisticated parenting skills. Weather monitoring equipment showed conditions outside continuing to improve. The temperature had risen to more manageable levels, and the wind had died down significantly. Sarah knew the bears' natural habitat would soon be safe for their return, though the thought of their departure brought unexpected emotion. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed touching moments of familial bonding. The cubs sought comfort from their mother, their small bodies curling against her massive form in complete trust. The mother bear's protective embrace demonstrated the universal nature of maternal love, transcending species boundaries. Sarah's detailed records of the bear's rehabilitation would later revolutionize wildlife rescue protocols. Her observations provided valuable data about bear behavior, intelligence, and social dynamics that would improve human understanding of these magnificent creatures and enhance conservation efforts worldwide. The bear's story represented more than just a successful rescue. It demonstrated the extraordinary capabilities of wildlife to adapt and survive, while also revealing the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction when approached with knowledge, respect, and compassion. Their experience challenged conventional boundaries between humans and wild animals, suggesting new possibilities for coexistence. As night fell, Sarah prepared for what she knew would be their final hours together. The mother bear's behavior indicated readiness to return to their natural habitat, though her continued calm acceptance of Sarah's presence suggested a lasting change in her perception of humans. This shift in awareness would have significant implications for wildlife behavior studies. The cubs, tired from their day's activities, settled into their blanket nest for rest. Their peaceful sleep, under their mother's watchful protection, provided a stark contrast to their near-death experience just a day earlier. Their resilience and recovery offered hope for wildlife survival in an increasingly challenging environment. Sarah's professional documentation continued through the evening, recording every aspect of the bears' final hours in the shelter. Their story would serve as a testament to the extraordinary possibilities that arose when humans chose to act with compassion while maintaining scientific rigor and respect for wild animals. The mother bear's decision to seek human help, followed by her remarkable trust in Sarah's intervention, had created an unprecedented opportunity for scientific study. Her sophisticated behavior throughout their stay challenged existing theories about wildlife intelligence and consciousness, suggesting capabilities far beyond current understanding. As the night deepened, Sarah reflected on how this experience would influence wildlife conservation efforts. The successful rehabilitation of the bear family demonstrated the importance of maintaining wild spaces while developing ethical protocols for human intervention in crisis situations. Their story would inspire new approaches to wildlife protection and research. The bears' imminent return to the wild represented both an ending and a beginning. While their time in the shelter would conclude, the scientific insights gained from their stay would continue to influence wildlife studies for years to come. Their experience proved that sometimes the most valuable scientific discoveries arose from unexpected circumstances and the courage to act with compassion. The final hours of their stay allowed Sarah to complete her detailed documentation of this extraordinary event. Her observations would provide valuable data for improving wildlife rescue techniques while deepening human understanding of bear intelligence and social behavior. The bear's story would become a powerful example of successful human-wildlife cooperation in crisis situations. As dawn broke on the third day, Sarah's weather monitoring equipment confirmed what her instincts had already told her. Conditions had finally improved enough for the bear's safe return to the wild. The temperature had risen to a manageable 20 degrees, and the brutal wind that had nearly claimed their lives had subsided to gentle breezes. Through her observation window, she noticed the mother bear's increased alertness, sensing the change in weather even from within their temporary shelter. The past 48 hours had yielded unprecedented insights into bear behavior and intelligence. Sarah's detailed documentation included over 50 hours of high-definition video footage, thousands of thermal imaging readings, and extensive notes on the family's social interactions. Her research would later form the basis for groundbreaking studies in wildlife behavior and conservation. Using her specialized monitoring equipment one final time, Sarah conducted comprehensive health assessments of all 3 bears. The data told a remarkable story of recovery. Their vital signs were strong, body temperatures stable, and muscle responses vigorous. The cubs, in particular, showed extraordinary resilience, their small bodies bouncing back from near-fatal hypothermia. With the adaptability of youth, the mother bear's behavior during their final morning in the shelter demonstrated sophisticated awareness of the changing situation. She began preparing her cubs for departure through a series of gentle interactions, grooming them more thoroughly than usual, nursing them for an extended period, and guiding them through subtle strength-testing exercises. Her actions revealed complex understanding of their imminent return to the wild. Sarah's satellite connection allowed her to coordinate the bear's release with regional wildlife authorities. Dr. Rodriguez and her team provided valuable input on optimal release protocols, though everyone acknowledged the unprecedented nature of the situation. The mother bear's conscious choice to seek help, followed by her remarkable trust in human intervention, had created unique circumstances that defied conventional wildlife management approaches. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed touching final moments between the bear family. The cubs, though energetic and fully recovered, stayed closer to their mother than usual, as if sensing the impending change. Their play incorporated more survival-oriented movements, suggesting instinctive preparation for returning to their natural habitat. Max's behavior reflected the shifting dynamics of the situation, while maintaining his calm presence near the observation area. His posture showed increased alertness, responding to the bear's changing energy. His reactions continued to provide valuable insights into the animal's emotional state as they prepared for departure. Sarah's documentation expanded to include detailed notes about the bear's pre-release behavior. The mother bear's methodical inspection of her cubs, their responsive movements, and the sophisticated communication between them revealed complex family dynamics that challenged traditional understanding of wildlife relationships. These observations would later contribute to revolutionary studies in animal cognition. The storage room, which had served as an emergency shelter during the crisis, would itself become a subject of scientific interest. The bears' organized use of space, their adaptation of available materials, and their maintenance of distinct areas for different activities demonstrated levels of intelligence that exceeded current understanding of wild animal capabilities. As morning progressed, Sarah observed fascinating patterns in the family's preparation for departure. The mother bear's behavior suggested she was conducting her own assessment of her cubs' readiness for the wild. She guided them through various movements, watching their responses, and adjusting her expectations accordingly. This sophisticated evaluation process provided new insights into ursine parenting strategies. Sarah's thermal imaging equipment captured remarkable data about the bear's physical responses during their preparation for release. Their movement patterns showed increasing strength and coordination, while their body temperatures maintained perfect stability. This information would prove valuable for future wildlife rehabilitation efforts. The cubs' behavior during their final hours in the shelter revealed extraordinary development in their survival skills. Through play that mimicked hunting and defense movements, they demonstrated their readiness to return to their natural environment. Their mother's patient guidance of these activities showed sophisticated teaching abilities previously undocumented in wild bears. Sarah's high-resolution cameras recorded unprecedented footage of bear family dynamics during this crucial transition period. The mother bear's careful balance of encouragement and protection, the cubs' growing confidence, and their coordinated responses to their mother's guidance provided valuable insights into wildlife adaptation and learning processes. The morning light revealed subtle changes in the bear's appearance as they prepared for release. Their fur had regained its natural glossy sheen. Their movements showed perfect coordination, and their eyes displayed the alert awareness essential for survival in the wild. Their successful rehabilitation represented a triumph of both natural resilience and human intervention. Using her professional expertise, Sarah began final preparations for the bear's release. Her detailed protocols, developed through careful observation of the family's behavior, would later become a model for wildlife rehabilitation programs worldwide. The unique circumstances of their shelter-seeking had created opportunities for developing new approaches to human-wildlife interaction. The mother bear's behavior continued to amaze Sarah with its sophistication. As release time approached, she began positioning herself between her cubs and the door, not with aggression, but with protective awareness. Her actions suggested she understood the transition they were about to make and was preparing to guide her family back to their natural habitat. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed remarkable moments of preparation between mother and cubs. The larger cub, typically more adventurous, stayed particularly close to its mother, while the smaller one engaged in focused, strength-building play. Their coordinated behavior demonstrated complex family dynamics rarely observed in wildlife. Studies Sarah's documentation of their final hours provided valuable insights into bear intelligence and social awareness. The mother bear's methodical preparation of her cubs, their responsive behavior, and the sophisticated communication between them revealed levels of cognitive function that would challenge existing theories about wildlife behavior. The bear's story would serve as more than just a successful rescue narrative. Their experience demonstrated the extraordinary possibilities that arose when humans chose to act with compassion while maintaining scientific rigor. The data gathered during their stay would contribute to improved wildlife conservation efforts and deeper understanding of human-animal interaction. As the moment for release approached, Sarah observed the mother bear's final preparations with professional interest and personal emotion. The massive creature's careful attention to her cubs, her apparent understanding of their situation, and her sophisticated problem-solving abilities had provided unprecedented insights into wildlife consciousness and intelligence. The cubs' recovery and development during their shelter stay had exceeded all expectations. Their journey from near death to vibrant health demonstrated both the resilience of wildlife and the potential for successful human intervention in crisis situations. Their experience would inspire new approaches to wildlife rehabilitation and conservation. Sarah's detailed records of the bear's rehabilitation would later revolutionize wildlife rescue protocols. Their story demonstrated that with proper understanding, respect, and compassion, positive human-wildlife interaction was possible even in extreme circumstances. The trust established between human observer and wild subjects created unique opportunities for scientific discovery and advancement in wildlife protection efforts. The final moments before release allowed Sarah to complete her comprehensive documentation of this extraordinary event. The bear's experience would contribute to improved understanding of wildlife behavior, intelligence, and adaptation capabilities, while their story would inspire new approaches to conservation and human-wildlife coexistence. Max's continued calm presence near the observation window provided final confirmation of the bear's readiness for release. His behavior throughout their stay had offered valuable insights into the family's emotional state, while his acceptance of their presence demonstrated the potential for peaceful coexistence between species when approached with knowledge and respect. With the same careful precision she had used throughout their extraordinary encounter, Sarah began the delicate process of preparing the storage room's exterior door for opening. Her movements were deliberate and methodical, each action calculated to ensure the bears' smooth transition back to their natural habitat. Through the observation window, she noticed the mother bear watching her preparations with keen interest, the massive creature's intelligence evident in her focused attention. The morning sun cast long shadows across the fresh snow, creating a pristine landscape that seemed to welcome the bear's return. Sarah's weather monitoring equipment showed perfect conditions for release. The temperature had stabilized at 25 degrees, visibility was excellent, and the wind had calmed to a gentle breeze. Nature itself seemed to have prepared a pathway for their journey home. Sarah activated her high-resolution cameras to document this crucial phase of their rehabilitation. The footage would prove invaluable for future wildlife research, capturing the delicate transition from human care back to wild independence. Through her specialized equipment, she observed fascinating changes in the bears' behavior as they sensed their imminent release. The mother bear's preparation of her cubs intensified in these final moments. Her actions revealed sophisticated teaching behaviors previously undocumented in wild bears. She guided them through what appeared to be practice movements, each sequence becoming more complex as the cubs responded with increasing confidence. Their coordination demonstrated remarkable recovery from their near-fatal experience. Max positioned himself strategically near Sarah, his behavior reflecting years of experience with wildlife situations. His calm demeanor provided valuable feedback about the bear's emotional state, while his protective instincts remained focused on supporting Sarah's work. His presence had been instrumental throughout this unprecedented event, offering insights that enhanced their understanding of the bear's needs. Using her thermal imaging equipment one final time, Sarah captured detailed data about the bear's physical readiness for release. Their body temperatures showed perfect regulation, their movement patterns displayed strong coordination, and their muscle responses indicated complete recovery from hypothermia. The successful rehabilitation would provide valuable information for future wildlife rescue efforts. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed extraordinary moments of preparation between mother and cubs. The family's behavior suggested complex understanding of their situation. The cubs stayed closer to their mother. Their play incorporated more survival-oriented movements, and their responses to their mother's guidance showed increasing sophistication. Sarah's satellite connection allowed her to share real-time data with Dr. Rodriguez and her team as the release approached. The mother bear's methodical preparation of her cubs, their coordinated responses, and the sophisticated communication between them provided unprecedented insights into bear intelligence and social behavior. These observations would later contribute to revolutionary studies in wildlife cognition. The storage room, which had served as their temporary sanctuary, showed touching signs of the bears' organized use of space. They had arranged the emergency blankets into a comfortable nest, maintained distinct areas for different activities, and demonstrated remarkable adaptation to their temporary shelter. Their behavior challenged conventional understanding of wildlife, intelligence, and adaptability. As the moment of release drew closer, Sarah observed fascinating patterns in the family's final preparations. The mother bear's attention to detail, Her patient guidance of her cubs and her apparent understanding of the transition they faced revealed levels of consciousness that exceeded current scientific understanding of wildlife behavior. The cubs' development during their shelter stay had progressed far beyond expectations. Their play now incorporated complex social rules, their movements showed perfect coordination, and their interactions with their mother displayed sophisticated emotional awareness. Their successful rehabilitation would inspire new approaches to wildlife conservation and protection. Sarah's documentation expanded to include detailed analyses of the bear's pre-release behavior. The mother bear's careful assessment of her cubs' readiness, their responsive movements, and the intricate communication between them demonstrated family dynamics that would challenge traditional views of wildlife relationships. Through her high-resolution cameras, Sarah captured remarkable footage of the bear's final moments in the shelter. The mother bear's protective positioning, the cubs' coordinated movements, and their collective awareness of the impending change provided valuable insights into wildlife adaptation and social bonds. The morning light revealed subtle changes in the bear's appearance as they prepared for departure. Their fur had regained its natural glory, their movements showed powerful grace, and their eyes displayed the alert awareness essential for survival in the wild. Their journey from desperate crisis to complete recovery represented a triumph of both natural resilience and human compassion. Sarah's professional expertise guided her through the final stages of release preparation. Her careful observations of the family's behavior had helped develop protocols that would later become standard practice in wildlife rehabilitation programs. Their unique story would inspire new approaches to human-wildlife interaction in crisis situations. The mother bear's behavior continued to amaze Sarah with its sophistication. As release time approached, she positioned herself strategically near the door, maintaining protective awareness of her cubs while demonstrating remarkable trust in Sarah's presence. Her actions suggested complex understanding of their transition back to the wild. Through her specialized monitoring equipment, Sarah observed fascinating changes in the bear's physical responses during these final moments. Their movement patterns showed increasing strength and coordination, while their body temperatures maintained perfect stability. This data would prove valuable for future wildlife rehabilitation efforts. Max's continued calm presence provided final confirmation of the bear's readiness for release. His behavior throughout their stay had offered unique insights into the family's emotional state, while his acceptance of their presence demonstrated the potential for peaceful coexistence between species when approached with knowledge and respect. Sarah's detailed documentation of their rehabilitation would later revolutionize wildlife rescue protocols. Their story demonstrated that with proper understanding, respect, and compassion, positive human-wildlife interaction was possible even in extreme circumstances. The trust established between human observer and wild subjects created unique opportunities for scientific discovery. The bear's experience represented more than just a successful rescue. Their journey demonstrated the extraordinary capabilities of wildlife to adapt and survive, while also revealing the potential for meaningful human-wildlife cooperation when approached with knowledge and compassion. Their story would inspire new approaches to conservation and wildlife protection. As the final moments before release approached, Sarah completed her comprehensive documentation of this extraordinary event. The bear's experience would contribute to improved understanding of wildlife behavior, intelligence, and adaptation capabilities, while their story would inspire new approaches to conservation and human-wildlife coexistence. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed the mother bear's final preparations with professional interest and personal emotion. The massive creature's careful attention to her cubs, her apparent understanding of their situation, and her sophisticated problem-solving abilities had provided unprecedented insights into wildlife consciousness and intelligence. The bear's successful rehabilitation would serve as a powerful example of the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction in crisis situations. Their story demonstrated that with proper understanding, respect, and compassion, peaceful coexistence between humans and wildlife was possible, even in the most challenging circumstances. The morning sun continued to illuminate their pristine surroundings as Sarah prepared for the final phase of their remarkable journey. The bear's story would inspire new approaches to wildlife conservation while deepening human understanding of these magnificent creatures' intelligence and adaptability. With steady hands and a focused mind, Sarah initiated the final phase of the bear's release. Her movements were precise as she activated the storage room's exterior door mechanism, designed for gradual opening to prevent startling wildlife. The morning sun streamed through the widening gap, casting warm light into the space that had served as their sanctuary during the crisis. The mother bear's response to the opening door displayed remarkable intelligence and awareness. Rather than rushing toward freedom, she methodically guided her cubs through what appeared to be a final assessment of their readiness. Her actions revealed sophisticated decision-making capabilities as she tested each cub's strength and alertness through subtle interactions. Through her high-resolution cameras, Sarah captured extraordinary footage of the bear's transition behavior. The cubs demonstrated increasing excitement while maintaining perfect coordination with their mother's movements. Their recovery had progressed from mere survival to thriving vitality, their small bodies now showing the robust energy essential for life in the wild. The fresh snow outside created a natural pathway leading from the storage room to the forest edge. Sarah's weather monitoring equipment confirmed ideal conditions for their return. Clear visibility, stable temperature, and gentle breezes that would help the bears acclimate to their natural environment. The landscape seemed to welcome them, a home. Max maintained his position near Sarah, his behavior reflecting the historical significance of this moment. His calming presence had contributed valuable insights throughout their unprecedented encounter, and now his relaxed demeanor suggested complete confidence in the bear's readiness for release. Using her specialized monitoring equipment one final time, Sarah documented the bear's physical responses to the opening door. Their vital signs showed perfect stability, their movement patterns displayed strong coordination, and their muscle responses indicated complete recovery. This data would prove invaluable for future wildlife rehabilitation efforts. The mother bear's extraordinary intelligence showed clearly in her methodical approach to departure. She guided her cubs through what appeared to be practice movements, each sequence becoming more complex as they responded with increasing confidence. Their coordination demonstrated remarkable recovery from their near-fatal experience. Sarah's satellite connection allowed her to share real-time data with Dr. Rodriguez's team as the release unfolded. The bear's behavior during this crucial transition provided unprecedented insights into wildlife adaptation and decision-making capabilities. Their story would contribute to revolutionary studies in animal cognition and conservation. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed touching moments as the bear family prepared to leave their temporary shelter. The cubs stayed close to their mother, while showing increasing interest in the natural world beyond the door. Their behavior suggested perfect balance between family bonds and natural instincts. The morning light revealed subtle changes in the bear's appearance as they approached freedom. Their fur gleamed with health, their movements showed powerful grace, and their eyes displayed the alert awareness essential for survival. Their journey from desperate crisis to complete recovery represented a triumph of both natural resilience and human compassion. Sarah's documentation expanded to include detailed analyses of the bear's transition behavior. The mother bear's careful guidance, the cubs' responsive movements, and the sophisticated communication between them demonstrated family dynamics that would challenge traditional views of wildlife relationships. The storage room, which had served as their sanctuary, showed signs of their organized use of space that would intrigue future researchers. The bear's adaptation of available materials and maintenance of distinct activity areas demonstrated levels of intelligence that exceeded current understanding of wildlife capabilities. As the family approached the threshold between human shelter and wild freedom, Sarah observed fascinating patterns in their behavior. The mother bear's attention to detail, her patient guidance of her cubs, and her apparent understanding of the transition they faced revealed levels of consciousness that would revolutionize wildlife behavior studies. The cubs' development during their shelter stay had progressed beyond all expectations. Their movements now showed perfect coordination, their social interactions displayed sophisticated awareness, and their responses to their mother's guidance demonstrated remarkable learning capabilities. Their successful rehabilitation would inspire new approaches to wildlife conservation. Through her specialized equipment, Sarah captured remarkable footage of the bear's first steps toward freedom. The mother bear's protective positioning, the cubs' coordinated movements, and their collective awareness of their environment provided valuable insights into wildlife adaptation and social bonds. The morning sun illuminated their path to freedom, creating a natural corridor through the fresh snow. Sarah's monitoring equipment showed perfect conditions for their return to the wild. Stable temperature, clear visibility, and gentle breezes that would help them readjust to their natural habitat. Sarah's professional expertise guided her through these final moments of their extraordinary encounter. Her careful observations of the family's behavior had helped develop protocols that would later become standard practice in wildlife rehabilitation programs. Their unique story would inspire new approaches to human-wildlife interaction in crisis situations. The mother bear's behavior continued to amaze Sarah with its sophistication. As they prepared to cross the threshold, she maintained perfect balance between protecting her cubs and encouraging their independence. Her actions suggested complex understanding of this crucial transition back to their natural environment. Through her high-resolution cameras, Sarah observed fascinating changes in the bear's physical responses during these final moments. Their movement patterns showed increasing strength and coordination, while their body temperatures maintained perfect stability. This data would prove valuable for future wildlife rehabilitation efforts. Max's continued calm presence provided final confirmation of the bear's readiness for release. His behavior throughout their stay had offered unique insights into the family's emotional state. while his acceptance of their presence demonstrated the potential for peaceful coexistence between species when approached with knowledge and respect. Sarah's detailed documentation of their rehabilitation would later revolutionize wildlife rescue protocols. Their story demonstrated that with proper understanding, respect, and compassion, positive human-wildlife interaction was possible, even in extreme circumstances. The trust established between human observer and wild subjects created unique opportunities for scientific discovery. The bear's experience represented more than just a successful rescue. Their journey demonstrated the extraordinary capabilities of wildlife to adapt and survive, while also revealing the potential for meaningful human-wildlife cooperation when approached with knowledge and compassion. Their story would inspire new approaches to conservation and wildlife protection. As the bears took their first steps toward freedom, Sarah completed her comprehensive documentation of this extraordinary event. The family's experience would contribute to improved understanding of wildlife behavior, intelligence, and adaptation capabilities, while their story would inspire new approaches to conservation and human-wildlife coexistence. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed these final moments with professional interest and personal emotion. The mother bear's careful attention to her cubs, her apparent understanding of their situation, and her sophisticated problem-solving abilities had provided unprecedented insights into wildlife consciousness and intelligence. The bear's successful rehabilitation would serve as a powerful example of the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction in crisis situations. Their story demonstrated that with proper understanding, respect, and compassion, peaceful coexistence between humans and wildlife was possible, even in the most challenging circumstances. With graceful determination, the mother bear led her cubs across the threshold into the crisp morning air. Their first steps into freedom displayed perfect coordination, their movements synchronized with natural instinct and learned experience. The fresh snow beneath their paws created a pristine path toward the forest's edge, nature itself seeming to welcome their return. Sarah's high-resolution cameras captured breathtaking footage of their transition. The mother bear moved with majestic confidence, her powerful form showing no traces of the desperate creature who had knocked on Sarah's door just days before. Her cubs bounded alongside her, their playful energy tempered by their mother's careful guidance. The morning sun cast long shadows across the snow-covered landscape, highlighting the bear's journey toward their natural habitat. Through her monitoring equipment, Sarah observed fascinating patterns in their behavior as they readjusted to the outdoor environment. The mother bear frequently paused to allow her cubs to explore while maintaining vigilant awareness of their surroundings. Max watched from the window beside Sarah, his posture reflecting the significance of this moment. Throughout their extraordinary encounter, his instincts had provided valuable insights into the bear's emotional state. Now, his calm demeanor suggested complete confidence in their successful rehabilitation. The cubs' behavior during their first moments of freedom demonstrated remarkable development. Their movements showed perfect balance between playful exploration and cautious awareness, skills essential for survival in the wild. Their successful recovery from near-fatal hypothermia represented a triumph of both natural resilience and human intervention. Sarah's specialized equipment continued recording vital data as the bears navigated their way home. Their body temperatures maintained perfect stability despite the cold. Their movement patterns displayed strong coordination, and their responses to environmental stimuli showed healthy alertness. This information would prove invaluable for future wildlife rehabilitation efforts. The mother bear's intelligence shone through in her methodical guidance of her cubs. She created opportunities for them to practice essential survival skills while maintaining protective oversight. Her sophisticated teaching methods challenged conventional understanding of wildlife behavior and cognitive capabilities. Through her observation window, Sarah witnessed touching moments of family interaction during their journey. The cubs stayed within their mother's protective range while showing increasing confidence in their explorations. Their behavior demonstrated perfect balance between family bonds and natural instincts. Sarah's satellite connection allowed her to share real-time observations with Dr. Rodriguez's team as the bears made their way toward the forest. Their transition behavior provided unprecedented insights into wildlife adaptation and decision-making capabilities. These observations would contribute to revolutionary studies in animal cognition and conservation. The morning light revealed subtle changes in the bears' movements as they approached familiar territory. Their pace quickened slightly, their awareness heightened, and their interactions showed increasing focus on their environment. Their successful return to the wild would inspire new approaches to wildlife rehabilitation and protection. The mother bear's extraordinary parenting skills continued to amaze Sarah as they moved toward the forest. She maintained perfect balance between encouraging independence and ensuring safety, her actions revealing sophisticated understanding of her cubs' developmental needs. Her behavior provided valuable insights into wildlife intelligence and emotional complexity. Using her professional expertise, Sarah documented every aspect of their departure. The bears' successful transition from human care back to wild independence would help develop improved protocols for wildlife rehabilitation. Their unique story would inspire new approaches to human-wildlife interaction in crisis situations. Through her high-resolution cameras, Sarah captured remarkable footage of the family's journey across the snow-covered ground. The mother bear's protective positioning, the cubs' coordinated movements, and their collective awareness of their surroundings provided valuable insights into wildlife adaptation and social bonds. The morning sun illuminated their path through the pristine landscape, creating natural guidance toward their forest home. Sarah's monitoring equipment showed perfect conditions for their return to the wild: stable temperature, clear visibility, and gentle breezes that would help them readjust to their natural habitat. As the bears approached the forest edge, Sarah observed fascinating patterns in their behavior. The mother bear's attention to detail, her patient guidance of her cubs, and her apparent understanding of their transition revealed levels of consciousness that would revolutionize wildlife behavior studies. The cubs' development during their rehabilitation had exceeded all expectations. Their movements showed perfect coordination, their social interactions displayed sophisticated awareness, and their responses to their mother's guidance demonstrated remarkable learning capabilities. Their successful recovery would inspire new approaches to wildlife conservation. Through her specialized equipment, Sarah recorded valuable data about the bears' physical responses during their journey home. Their movement patterns showed increasing strength and coordination, while their body temperatures maintained perfect stability. This information would prove crucial for future wildlife rehabilitation efforts. Max's continued calm presence provided final confirmation of the bear's successful rehabilitation. His behavior throughout their extraordinary encounter had offered unique insights into the family's emotional state, while his acceptance of their presence demonstrated the potential for peaceful coexistence between species. Sarah's detailed documentation of their return to the wild would later revolutionize wildlife rescue protocols. Their story demonstrated that with proper understanding, respect, and compassion, positive human-wildlife interaction was possible even in extreme circumstances. The trust established between human observer and wild subjects created unique opportunities for scientific discovery. The bear's experience represented more than just a successful rescue. Their journey demonstrated the extraordinary capabilities of wildlife to adapt and survive, while also revealing the potential for meaningful human-wildlife cooperation when approached with knowledge and compassion. Their story would inspire new approaches to conservation and wildlife protection. As the bear family reached the forest's edge, they paused momentarily. The mother bear turned toward Sarah's cabin, her gaze meeting Sarah's through the distance. In that moment, something profound passed between them, an acknowledgement of their shared experience and the trust that had made survival possible. The cubs, picking up on their mother's paws, also turned to look back. Their small faces, now full of health and vitality, showed curious interest in the place that had sheltered them through crisis. Their successful rehabilitation would serve as a powerful example of the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction. With graceful purpose, the mother bear led her cubs into the forest's embrace. Their movements showed perfect harmony with their environment, their successful return to the wild representing a triumph of both natural resilience and human compassion. Their story would inspire new understanding of wildlife intelligence and adaptation capabilities. Sarah continued, recording until the bears disappeared into the forest depths. Their journey from desperate crisis to successful rehabilitation would contribute to improved understanding of wildlife behavior and intelligence, while their story would inspire new approaches to conservation and human-wildlife coexistence. The morning sun cast long shadows through the trees as the bears made their way home. Their successful return to the wild demonstrated the extraordinary possibilities that arose when humans chose to act with compassion while maintaining scientific rigor and respect for wildlife. Their experience would inspire new approaches to conservation and protection of these magnificent creatures. In the weeks that followed the bears' departure, Sarah's documentation of their extraordinary encounter began reshaping scientific understanding of wildlife behavior and human-wildlife interaction. Her comprehensive data, including high-resolution videos, thermal imaging recordings, and detailed behavioral observations, provided unprecedented insights into bear intelligence and social dynamics. The response from the scientific community exceeded all expectations. Dr. Rodriguez organized an international symposium dedicated to analyzing the implications of Sarah's observations. Wildlife experts from around the world gathered virtually to discuss the mother bear's remarkable decision-making capabilities, her sophisticated teaching methods, and the complex family dynamics displayed during their rehabilitation. Sarah's cabin, once simply her research base, had become a landmark in wildlife conservation history. The storage room that had served as an emergency shelter now provided valuable insights into bear adaptation and problem-solving abilities. The bears' organized use of space, their careful arrangement of materials, and their maintenance of distinct activity areas challenged conventional understanding of wildlife intelligence. Max's behavior during the extraordinary encounter contributed valuable insights into the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction. His calm acceptance of the bear's presence, his accurate reading of their emotional states, and his supportive role throughout their rehabilitation demonstrated the sophisticated nature of animal awareness and communication. The implications of Sarah's experience extended far beyond traditional wildlife research. Her successful intervention in the bear's crisis situation provided a new model for wildlife rehabilitation, one that balanced human assistance with respect for natural behaviors. The protocols she developed during their stay would influence wildlife rescue efforts worldwide. Sarah's detailed documentation revealed fascinating patterns in the bear's recovery process. Their journey from desperate crisis to complete rehabilitation demonstrated extraordinary resilience and adaptation capabilities. The mother bear's sophisticated parenting techniques, the cub's rapid development, and their collective response to human assistance provided new insights into wildlife intelligence and social learning. The scientific papers that emerged from Sarah's observations sparked intense discussion about animal consciousness and decision-making capabilities. The mother bear's deliberate choice to seek human help, her understanding of the temporary nature of their shelter, and her methodical preparation of her cubs for return to the wild suggested levels of cognitive function previously undocumented. In wildlife studies, conservation organizations worldwide began incorporating lessons from Sarah's experience into their wildlife protection strategies. Her success in providing emergency assistance while maintaining appropriate boundaries offered a new model for human-wildlife interaction in crisis situations. The trust established between Sarah and the bear family demonstrated the potential for positive outcomes when scientific knowledge was combined with compassion. Through her high-resolution cameras, Sarah had captured countless moments that defied traditional understanding of wildlife behavior. The mother bear's teaching methods, the cubs' learning processes, and their collective adaptation to temporary shelter provided valuable insights into animal intelligence and social development. These observations would influence wildlife research for years to come. The impact of Sarah's experience extended into public awareness of wildlife conservation issues. Her story, while maintaining scientific rigor, touched something fundamental in human understanding of our relationship with wild animals. The mother bear's conscious choice to seek help and Sarah's compassionate response demonstrated the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction. Sarah's research station became a center for studying wildlife adaptation and behavior. Her successful rehabilitation of the bear family provided valuable data about animal resilience and recovery capabilities. The protocols she developed during their stay would influence wildlife rescue efforts worldwide, offering new approaches to emergency intervention. The bear's story challenged conventional boundaries between humans and wildlife. Their experience demonstrated that with proper understanding, respect, and compassion, positive interaction was possible even in extreme circumstances. Sarah's documentation provided valuable insights into wildlife intelligence and adaptation capabilities that would shape future conservation efforts. As spring approached, Sarah occasionally observed bears in the distance, wondering if they were the same family she had sheltered through the crisis. While maintaining professional distance, she felt profound satisfaction in knowing her intervention had preserved something precious, not just the lives of 3 magnificent creatures, but hope for improved understanding between humans and wildlife. The scientific community continued analyzing data from Sarah's extraordinary encounter. Her detailed observations provided new insights into bear intelligence, social behavior, and adaptation capabilities. The mother bear's sophisticated decision-making, her teaching methods, and her trust in human assistance challenged traditional views of wildlife behavior. Conservation organizations began implementing new protocols based on Sarah's experience. Her successful combination of scientific knowledge and compassionate intervention provided a model for wildlife rehabilitation efforts. The trust established between human and wild animals demonstrated the potential for positive outcomes in crisis situations. Sarah's documentation revealed complex patterns in wildlife behavior and adaptation. The bear's journey from desperate crisis to successful rehabilitation offered valuable insights into animal resilience and recovery capabilities. Their story would influence wildlife protection strategies and human-wildlife interaction protocols for years to come. Through her specialized equipment, Sarah had captured unprecedented data about bear physiology and behavior. The family's recovery process, their adaptation to temporary shelter, and their successful return to the wild provided valuable information for wildlife research and conservation efforts. Their experience demonstrated the extraordinary capabilities of wild animals to adapt and survive with appropriate human assistance. The impact of Sarah's encounter extended beyond scientific research into public awareness of wildlife conservation issues. Her story demonstrated the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction when approached with knowledge, respect, and compassion. The trust established between Sarah and the bear family offered hope for improved understanding between species. Max's role in the extraordinary encounter provided valuable insights into animal awareness and communication. His accurate assessment of the bear's intentions, his calm acceptance of their presence, and his supportive behavior throughout their rehabilitation demonstrated sophisticated levels of interspecies understanding. Sarah's research station became a model for wildlife rehabilitation facilities. Her successful intervention in the bear's crisis situation provided new approaches to emergency assistance while maintaining respect for natural behaviors. The protocols she developed during their stay would influence wildlife rescue efforts worldwide. The scientific papers that emerged from Sarah's observations sparked intense discussion about animal consciousness and decision-making capabilities. The mother bear's deliberate choice to seek help, her sophisticated parenting techniques, and her methodical preparation for return to the wild suggested levels of cognitive function previously undocumented in wildlife studies. Conservation organizations worldwide began incorporating lessons from Sarah's experience into their wildlife protection strategies. Her success in providing emergency assistance while maintaining appropriate boundaries offered a new model for human-wildlife interaction. In crisis situations, the trust established between Sarah and the bear family demonstrated the potential for positive outcomes when scientific knowledge was combined with compassion. Through her high-resolution cameras, Sarah had captured countless moments that defied traditional understanding of wildlife behavior. The mother bear's teaching methods, the cubs' learning processes, and their collective adaptation to temporary shelter provided valuable insights into animal intelligence and social development. These observations would influence wildlife research. For years to come, the bear's story challenged conventional boundaries between humans and wildlife. Their experience demonstrated that with proper understanding, respect, and compassion, positive interaction was possible even in extreme circumstances. Sarah's documentation provided valuable insights into wildlife intelligence and adaptation capabilities that would shape future conservation efforts. As the seasons changed, Sarah's extraordinary encounter continued to influence wildlife conservation and research. Her successful intervention in the bear's crisis provided hope for improved understanding between humans and wildlife, while her detailed documentation offered valuable insights into animal intelligence and adaptation capabilities. Their story demonstrated the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction when approached with knowledge, respect, and compassion. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.